As we enter into 2024, we enter a new book in the Torah, Sefer Shemot, the book of Exodus. In chapter 1, in what seems like an instant, essentially 4 verses, the Israelites go from being fertile and prolific and known by the king to being unknown, enslaved, and oppressed. They cry out to God in their pain and anguish, and with their cries comes the time-honored question, when will redemption come? A question as central today as it was thousands of years ago. The book of Shemot offers a response. In the midst of suffering, agony, heartbreak, and hopelessness, God delivers the Israelites out of slavery. This meta-narrative of the Exodus becomes the leitmotif of our tradition. And for me, it is one of the driving principles of my religious faith and commitment. If we long for, expect, and work towards freedom and justice, redemption is possible. And that is our religious imperative. It is in Exodus's opening chapters that we see the awakening towards redemption, the first of which comes with the actions of the midwives, Shifra and Puah, who defy the decree of Paro to kill the Israelite baby boys. Vatir'ena hamiladot et ha'Elohim, velo asa ka'asher diber alehem melech Mitzrayim, vatichiena et ha'yeladim. The midwives, fearing God, did not do as the king of Egypt had told them. They let the boys live. Their act of resistance is the first act of civil disobedience in the Torah, perhaps in the world. It is driven by their fear of God. They do not hesitate. They have moral clarity based on what they understand God wants of them, and based, I think, also on their own intuition. Because they defy the decree, because they act, the boys live. And thus, Moshe lives, and we know the rest of the story. In fact, in the Talmud, in Sota 11b, it says, Daresh Rav Avira bischar nashim tzidkaniot shehayu ba'oto hador nigalu Yisrael miMitzrayim. Rav Avira taught in the merit of the righteous women that were in that generation, the Jewish people were redeemed from Egypt. It's a pretty radical statement for the rabbis of the Talmud to say that the redemption was due to the righteous women of that generation. But of course, such clarity and faithfulness is not the only voice that emanates from this parasha. At the burning bush, God commissions Moshe to go to Paro and say the famous phrase, Shlach et ami ve'yavduni, let my people go so that they may serve me. This holy mission is not met by an affirmative yes from Moshe, nor does the divine encounter inspire Moshe towards obedience. Unlike Shifra and Puah, he is riddled with doubt. Vayomer Moshe el Elohim, mi anochi ki elech el Paro, v'chi otzi et bnei Yisrael mi Mitzrayim. But Moshe said to God, who am I that I should go to Paro, and how can I possibly free the Israelites from Egypt? The Eish Kodesh, the Piasetzner Rabbi, who's famously known as the Rabbi of the Warsaw Ghetto, offers a stunning commentary on this moment. He writes, Moshe was the most humble person ever to walk the earth. He was constantly asking himself, Mi anochi, who am I, and how can I possibly? So God said to him, it is not true that you are not fit. Your self-doubting is itself a form of worship. Your self-doubting is itself a form of avodah, a form of worship, the type of worship that illuminates the world. It comes from the name of God, Ehyeh, I will be. When a person feels there is nothing worth looking at in their heart, but says, I am nothing right now, but from now I will try to be something. This kind of worship takes an aspect of God's name, Ehyeh, I will be. And it draws out a reciprocal promise from God, Ehyeh, and I will be, which is, of course, the famous name of God, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. Moshe's modesty catalyzes his curiosity and longing, according to the Eish Kodesh, to become something, which is, according to the Eish Kodesh, the very essence of God. It is the name by which God introduces God's self to Moshe, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, I will be what I will be. And this teaching of the Eish Kodesh, in many ways, sanctifies the power of self-doubt as generative and holy. Moshe's humility, in many ways, is the polar opposite response of the Hebrew midwives. Yet Moshe, the doubtful prophet, leads the Israelites on the journey to redemption. Now, the Eish Kodesh wrote this commentary, the book of Eish Kodesh, the teachings on the Parashat organized by year on the Parashat, and the third year of the teaching is the year of his death, when he was brought to the camps. He wrote this commentary during the last year of his life. It's the only time he writes on Parashat Shemot, as his world is being engulfed in flames and literally incinerated before his eyes. But instead of giving up on faith or becoming cynical in the face of doubt, he has the courage and audacity to purpose doubt into a holy enterprise, which I think is incredibly stunning. I always thought of Moshe as having a lack of self-esteem. But in light of the Rabbi's teaching and the world we are living in today, I experience his agony as a feeling of existential doubt and true smallness in light of the big question, when will redemption come? This year, I am holding both the midwives and Moshe close. We need both stories. We need both faith and moral clarity, and we also need holy doubt. In an article entitled Faith and Doubt in Tradition magazine in 1967, Dr. Norman Lamb writes, "Faith is a dialectical process, not an established fact. An inner encounter between yes and maybe, between the exclamation point and the question mark. Faith and doubt are not in essential contradiction with one another. Doubt so conceived becomes not an impediment, but a goad to reinvestigate and deepen faith assertions. Out of the agony of a faith that must constantly wrestle with doubt may emerge a far greater vision, scope, and attainment. This is, of course, a dangerous and risky kind of faith. But as someone so rightly said, you cannot open your mind to truth without risking the entrance of falsehood. And you cannot close your mind to falsehood without risking the exclusion of truth." I do not know when redemption will come, though I know we need to long for it and expect it and work for it. And right now it feels so very far away. We are so broken, our world is so torn apart. I think most of us feel deeply vulnerable for many reasons. The massacre of October 7th, the war in Gaza, the 132 hostages held 92 days and counting, the dismissal of Jewish suffering, and the rise of anti-Semitism not only on college campuses, on city streets, but in the world at large, and the erasure of Palestinian pain, also in the Jewish community and places in Israel and all over the world. The thousands upon thousands of innocent people, primarily Gazans, who are being killed every day. The slowly disintegrating values of freedom and democracy. My faith, my religious commitment, and our tradition have taught me many things that I believe are essential and true and non-negotiable. And in this moment, in these months in particular, my faith also teaches me to honor the power of doubt, of self-doubt. I am deeply troubled by the lack of humility and doubt in our discourse, and the categorical yeses and nos, and the categorical accusations of certainty, of those that erase the pain of Israel and its need for self-defense, those that disavow the moral imperative to disempower Hamas or acknowledge the threats on all of Israel's borders and beyond, and of those that dehumanize Palestinians or equate all Palestinians with Hamas and believe they are deserving of the unimaginable suffering that they are experiencing. I am deeply troubled by those unable to distinguish the need for safety and security from the desire for revenge, and those amongst us unwilling to ask questions of this war, like, to what end and for how long, as if this is a zero-sum game, winner takes all. The occupation, the terror, the hatred, the complacency, and the morally bankrupt leadership on all sides will not deliver us towards redemption. The trauma, the destruction, the suffering, the loss of life, and the intractable ongoing conflict cannot produce any winners. And the lack of nuance, complexity, compassion, and modesty and self-doubt in the conversation is disturbing. It is much easier to sit in a place of rightness and righteous indignation, no matter what side we choose. But we will never turn the page and enter a new book, a new life, a new world, if we aren't willing to make doubt and humility a companion to our rightness. Yehuda Amichai has a beautiful poem called Hamakom Bo Anu Tzodkim, the place where we are right. From the place where we are right, flowers will never grow in the spring. The place where we are right is hard and trampled like a yard, but doubts and loves dig up the world like a mole, a plow, and a whisper will be heard in the place where the ruined house once stood. Please, God, let us be bolstered by our faith, our moral conviction, and cracked open and challenged by our doubt, by our humility, by our modesty and not knowing. May we love and dig and plow to plant the seeds so flowers will bloom. So someday, may we hear the whisper, redemption is coming, redemption is coming, redemption is coming, and believe it will come. Shabbat Shalom.